Hey everybody, I'm Dan Cumberland. Do you want to get more out of your podcast guesting? After 8 years of hosting and guesting myself, I've found one simple trick that has changed everything for me as a guest, and I think it could do the same for you. If you're looking to get more out of each of your appearances, this is for you. I've created what I call the upside down interview strategy. Before I tell you how it works and how to go about implementing it, let me tell you about one of my worst interview experiences I've ever had as a host. I was thrilled to have a prolific guest on. She's a podcaster, multiple-time author with a big publishing house. Her work aligned just so well with my show. I just couldn't wait to have her on the show. My show is about personal transformation. I was excited to dig into her own transformational story and share some new insights with the world. Unearth that really good stuff. I read her book. I listened to her show. I was ready to create something just really special. And as you could probably guess, she apparently wasn't. Instead of a dynamic and fresh conversation, it felt like every question I asked her was just redirected back to her talking points. It was like interviewing a seasoned politician. We've all seen these kinds of interviews. She was so habituated into her media appearance persona that it just made her completely inaccessible. I think of myself as a pretty skilled interviewer, and I've done just countless hundreds of interviews before, but I just could not crack her, or at least not in the time that we had available. Not only did I leave the show feeling disappointed with the result, that guest had turned me from a raving fan into a bit of a critic. I was there ready to show up and to deliver with her, and she just wasn't there for me. What could have been an incredible experience was flat. It was robotic, just simply boring, not only for me, but also for my listeners. People listen to shows to get new insights. And over time, there's this expectation, this trust that they build with the host. Every show has its own cultures. And as guests, we get the privilege of coming into that tribe and getting to share something with them as their guests. Listeners grow to respect and to love their host. And in many ways, that host is a stand-in for those listeners. So a good host then asks the right questions to take their tribe, those listeners, on a journey. So these listeners expect that, and they show up for that experience. So when a guest comes on and only talks from her talking points, it's off-putting at best and even insulting at worst. So not only did I leave that episode feeling disappointed and missed, my listeners did too. And I share this as just a negative story of how not to show up. Now, I know many media professionals might tell you otherwise. They might say, know your talking points and turn each question back to your advantage, etc. But that goes against the very spirit of podcasting today. And in so doing, we're missing the real opportunity that podcast guesting affords us. Think about each guest appearance as a meal or a ceremony with another culture or another tribe that you're not familiar with. You're that guest. You need to take cues from what's going on as to what to do and where to take the conversation and how to best serve that host and that audience. Don't come into this special space just jawing on about yourself and whatever it is you have to hawk. And I know you're a good guest. I shouldn't have to say this, but I still need to say it. Instead, come with curiosity. Come with engagement. Come with open hands. As a host, it's a noticeable difference. I've had some guests that just over-deliver. We've had expansive conversations that have just been fun and just taken us to surprising destinations. And as listeners, you know when you've been there. Something special happens in that conversation. We see this all the time in the news. Think about the bits that go viral with celebrities. They're never the scripted pieces. They're the raw stuff. They're the real stuff. They're what's true. And that's what I'm inviting you here to co-create with hosts today. All too often as guests, we're just so focused on ourselves, on our message, which that we've worked so hard to craft and develop, and all the work that we put into the world, and we're bringing it. Now's our moment to share it. But I'm flipping the script on that, and it all comes from this one simple idea. Serve this show and the host first. This is what I call the upside down interview. I call it that because it takes the opposite approach from what most guests take. And if I haven't built the case strong enough for it yet, here are some of the results that I'm seeing. And I'd love to hear the results you see when you start applying it as well. When you do an upside down strategy, first, you get better and more dynamic interviews. As I said, you go to new places. The end product is better. The conversations you co-create with the host are so much more engaging and fun to listen to than any prepared talking points could ever be. And secondly, it turns the host into a raving fan of yours. When you over-deliver for the host, it turns them into a fan and an advocate. When someone helps me accomplish my goals, I want to help them accomplish theirs. And sure, not every host is going to be your best friend, but the more you show up for them, the more they're going to want to be your best friend and open doors and make connections for you. Thirdly, it allows you to leverage hosts to make more connections. When your hosts feel supported by you and sees how much you've put into being a guest, they will enthusiastically connect you with other hosts, other partners, other potential advocates. Hosts by the nature of what they do, they have big networks. They know a lot of people, other guests, other hosts, and because of that, they can open all kinds of doors for you. Fourth, it leads to better connections with the audience. The audience is there for a particular type of conversation. When you're working with the host, it allows you to co-create something with the audience that they are going to enjoy even more than your content would all on its own. The more willing you are to go to the places that the host wants to go, the more it will resonate with that host's audience. So remember that the host functions as a stand-in for the audience members. So when the host is connecting with you, the audience is connecting with you. And conversely, when the host is not connecting, the audience isn't either. Fifth, last but not least, this whole upside down approach leads to more sales, more leads, more books sold, etc. Whatever it is that you're trying to do. This almost goes without saying at this point, as we've already covered it so much, but it's worth making it clear. The best way to accomplish your goal is to put your show, this host, this interview that you have ahead of you first via this upside down method. So how do we do it? There are 3 steps. First, understand the host's goals. Second, frame your story through their lens. Third, compliment the host and make them look so good. Let's dig into these one at a time. It starts with one simple question. I've already alluded to it. What is the host trying to do? As podcast guests, it might be helpful for us to think through what goes into creating a podcast. There's a lot. There's the recording time that the host puts in, the editing costs, the editing time, the software costs, the hosting costs, the promotional costs, and all the other expenses that go along with it. Every podcaster, just like every guest, has a reason that they're doing what they're doing it. The key to crushing it as a guest is to understand what the host is trying to accomplish and focus your guest appearance on serving their mission to the best of your ability. Podcasts make money in one of 3 ways. Advertising, so the sponsors here are the customers. Helping listeners, so the listeners are the customers. Or helping guests, where the guests are the customers. Often hosts do some combination of those 3 things. The key here is to understand what success looks like for that host and then work to achieve that success on their behalf. This means that your content and your agenda gets put on the back burner. Instead, you must focus your time and attention on making something special for that host. Some key questions you can ask to get there are these. And if you're taking notes, you want to write these down. First, ask the host to share one of their favorite episodes and ask why it was their favorite. This will give you a lot of information about the host, the culture of the show, their tribe, and knowing the kinds of conversations that the host likes to have and how they prefer to go about their interviews. All of that just will go a long way to helping you understand who they are and what they bring to the table. Second, ask the host what makes a guest a really great guest and ask for specific examples. The more you can get the host talking about what they do and what they love in their show, the better off you'll be. These are all clues you're gathering to piece all of this together. And third, and this is very important, ask how the hosts monetize the show. Ask how the show fits into their business. If you don't feel comfortable talking about money, ask who their customers are and what kind of services they offer. If they do coaching or consulting, ask if you can learn more about their framework and their perspective. Once you know this, you're able to move on to that next step. So the next step is framing your story through their lens. So first, try to understand the host goal. So first, understand the host goal. Second is to frame your story through their lens. Do your best to frame your content and your story through the lens of what the host does. The best guests will be teeing up the hosts to hit home runs, sharing their own perspective. And a good interview is much like improv. There's this back and forth. And one of the classic rules of improv that many of us know is that you always say yes and. That means that when someone throws something your way, something that they're creating or imagining, you always accept it and then you build on it in a new way. In podcasting, it's no different. You take the question or the insight from the host, you add your color, and then you toss it back to the host. And often guests miss this. Ask hosts to give their opinions. Ask how they would respond in similar situations. Ask how what they've seen work in their own business, in their own lives, in their own journeys. They have tons to say. Just ask. So again, the 3 steps, we're going through them one at a time for this upside down interview. First, understand the host's goals. Second is to frame your story through their lens. Now let's touch on this final step. It's the simplest, but third is just to compliment the host. This is a simple one, but it's so essential. Remember that the host is the audience. They are the stand-in for the audience. The better you can do to make her look good, the better the audience is going to feel. Tell them how great their show is. Compliment them on how smart their audience is for tuning in. Treat this like it is your job. Don't be inauthentic about it, but if you can make them feel good, you'll be making the audience smile right along with you. I was recently on the Happy Engineer podcast with Zach White. Awesome podcast. Zach is just a great interviewer and great host. It was just a really fun conversation. As we were preparing, I noted that Zach coaches engineers. His show is a way for him to get clients, both from guests and from the audience, 2 of the ways we talked about earlier. In the prep work, I asked Zach about his coaching and if he could share some of his principles with me. He offered just a few insights, and then I responded to his questions. And as I responded to his questions, I was able to open the conversation for more discussion via his specific framework. So using his lens to look at my journey, my work. It ended up just being a really fun conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise if I hadn't asked those questions. And if I'd gone on his show hoping only just to share my own framework and how I work with clients, we wouldn't have gotten anywhere near there. Instead, Zach and I were able to have a really fun conversation. We both came away with great new insights. And when this episode airs, it hasn't gone live yet, I know I'll be hearing from his listeners simply because of the incredible rapport that we built on his show. Again, the steps for the upside down interview goes as follow. First, understand the host's goals. Second, frame your story through their lens. Third, compliment the host and make them look good. If you do these 3 things, you'll be well on your way to doing an upside down interview, serving your host better, connecting with your audience deeper, and getting more from each of your appearances than you would otherwise. I hope you'll take these ideas, make them your own, and just get out there and crush your next interview. Let me know how it goes. Thanks so much for listening and watching.